Hey guys, and welcome to Gwent, the Witcher card game. My name is Jaggerous, and today I'm playing a ranked monsters deck for you guys. And that is this Eredin Frost deck, because what is cooler than being cool? Ice cold. So the gist of this deck is that we're going to be playing a lot of Frost on our opponents, and using that to whittle away their units. So you can see here we have Wild Hunt Hounds, and these, when you play them, they play a Biting Frost card from your deck. So we can use the Hounds to pull the Frost cards from our deck. On top of that, we have Eredin as our leader, which will allow us to play a Wild Hunt Navigator, choose a different Bronze Wild Hunt ally, play a copy of it from your deck, so we can use this to then draw out more Wild Hunt Hounds, or draw out more Wild Hunt Riders, increased by 1 the damage dealt by Frost Hazards on the opposing row. So we have options with this. We could also play a Wild Hunt Warrior, deploy damage dealing by 3 if it was under a Frost Hazard, or destroy to boost self by 2. So we can, again, use Eredin kind of situationally. We also have one Wild Hunt Navigator ourselves to help us find our Wild Hunt Hounds and Thin. Then to ensure things are in weather, we have our Drowners. We can use these to move a unit to this row on its side. If it's an enemy, damage it by 2. If the enemy is moved into a hazard, damage it by 4. So Frost is a hazard, so then we can use these to basically deal 4 damage and move things into Frost. We have our Wild Hunt Riders, which we can use to increase the damage of our Frost. Then we have Morvud as a lock, so we can use this to lock something or unlock something depending on what we want to play. And we actually have Iris as well. Death Wish boosts 5 random units on the other side, so on our side of the board, because she is disloyal. She's an agent. We play her on the opponent's side. She dies in the Frost, because Frost hits the smallest target. 5 of our units get boosted. She gets locked. We can unlock her with Morvud. Then we have Nithril. Deploy damage an enemy by 5. If you have any Wild Hunt units in your hand, damage it by 7. Wild Hunt Riders are Wild Hunt units. Wild Hunt Hounds are Wild Hunt units. Wild Hunt Navigator is a Wild Hunt unit. You know, worst case, this is a 10. Best case, it's a 12. And it's also removal, which is really nice. Then we have Jotun. Move 3 enemies to this row on their side and damage them by 2. If the row is affected by a Frost Hazard, damage them by 3 instead. So we can get a lot of damage out with this and also move units around. Then we have Caretaker, which is just a generally strong card. Resurrect a bronze or silver unit from your opponent's graveyard. We have Spear Tip, which again we have lock. So because often your opponent will row stack against Frost, then playing Spear Tip can be quite good. If at the start of your turn there are 3 or more units on the opposite row, wake up, gain 5 armor, boost units adjacent to this one by 1. So that's what happens when you play him. Wait, no, yeah. So you play him, he gains 5 armor, boost adjacents, and then if there's more units than 3 units on the opposite row, he'll then transform into 10 strength or Spear Tip Awake, and damage up to 5 enemies on the opposite row by 2. And then if you move units then off that row, so there's no longer 3, he'd then transform back and boost your units again. And you can kind of basically trigger his transformations a couple of times, for example, depending on how this works. And again, we have a Morvud to unlock it, should we need it. We have another Frost in Corinthia. Move an enemy to this row on its side and apply a Frost Hazard to this row. So we can use him to play more Frost. We have White Frost, apply a Frost Hazard to 2 adjacent opposing rows. So we've got more Frost there as well. Sometimes it might be a little bit overkill, so then this Frost you can potentially switch out for Scorch. I mean, it really depends how much weather clear your opponent has as to how much weather you really need. But we do have, 5 different options for Frost, which is pretty good. We have one First Light, which is nice. I have a Mardrome. Mardrome we generally use to spawn spores. Spores, which resets a unit and weakens it by 3, because often you end up with highly boosted units in things like Spies. You could switch this out for a Lacerate if you feel like that's going to be more useful to you, depending on what you're going up against, but I quite like the Mardrome because we can generally stack rows with things like Jotun, Drowners, and also Frightener. Move a unit to another row on the side, so this is a Spy, we use this to move units onto a row, and then we can also, draw the top card from our deck. So this is more for card draw, but because he's going into Frost, it can be useful. Then we have Muzzle. Move a bronze or silver enemy with 8 power or less to the opposing row, so we can use this to kidnap strong cards. And this is just generally a good card, fits into more or less any deck quite successfully. So that is the Frost Eredin deck, and without further ado, I'm going to jump into a ranked game and I'll showcase this deck in action for you guys. And if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like.
That's Thai cellmate tower.
Any last words?
Okay, so we're up against Consume, which means cards like Muzzle and Morvud are going to be really important for stopping things like Neckers. We have Morvud, we don't have Muzzle. In terms of the mulligan, you're obviously mulliganing away any Frost that you have. We have 2 Wild Hunt Hounds, so we can draw Frost and a Navigator, which is nice. A Drowner and 2 Wild Hunt Riders, plus Iris, Morvud, Nithril, and Spear Tip. I think for now I'm going to mulligan a Rider, because I can always draw an extra one with my leader with Eredin. We'll then get rid of this Frost. And we got Jotun. I'm going to leave it at that. I would have liked to find Muzzle or more golds, but because of how the hand is relatively strong anyway, so we can kind of just go from here. Our opponent has to go first. The thing to be aware of against Consume is that they're going to be playing, often they want to play Neckers, and these are going to get highly buffed. So if you can kind of stop that from happening, that usually makes your life pretty happy. On top of that, you can see he's running Behemoths, but this is kind of fine because we'll just Frost him. And note that you can play your Wild Hunt Hound wherever you like. Like, you don't have to play the Hound on the row that you're going to Frost like a Woodland Spirit. So we'll put the Frost out there, and we'll start to take points off of his Behemoth, which stops him from spawning so many Arrakis. He's got a second one. And so what we're going to do here, I think, is we can actually just straight kill this one with Nithril, which is potentially a good option. The alternative is that we would kill a Necker, but we have a lock, so I feel like that's fine. So potentially we go with Nithril. We do have Wild Hunt units in our hands, so this is kind of fine to do. If we hit this one, it would go down to 1 health and die to Frost, leaving this one with no armor. If we hit this one, then this one would take Frost damage and lose its armor. So you're actually better off... Well, actually, it's more or less the same thing whether you kill the left one or the right one. It doesn't wholly matter which one you target. But we'll take one of these out. And I'm just spreading my units out across different rows so that row effects aren't so strong. This does mean that weather is generally stronger, but all in all, that's just, you know, something that can happen. What's he going to eat? If he gets 9 points, he ate a Hound, yeah. 32 to 9. This is not so good for us. We definitely need to get some points on the board. And so, what do we... Let me work this out. I'm going to get 2 points from weather, so I'm actually only 21 points behind. 3, 4, 5, 6. But we're playing... We're playing with card advantage, so we can afford to... So long as we can basically keep up with him this round, we can actually afford to make a low tempo play here, which would be Navigator into a Hound, thin another Frost, and pop that there on the middle row. Because the more points we can get out of this weather, the better.
Naivety is a fool's blessing.
And he's gone for Gills into either a silver or a gold. Triss. So we can lock this. The issue is if we lock this, then he may play Neckers, and there's nothing we can really do about them other than weather them. So the question is, how do we want to deal with this card? We can also move it. If we move it into weather, it will take 3 damage. So the question is that 3 damage gonna be enough? We can then play a Rider, but the risk, we have a risk that, you know, she might not die. So I think the best plan here is just to straight lock this. Ideally, we would have wanted to keep the lock for Neckers, but Triss Butterfly Spell can be quite, you know, powerful, so it's kind of an issue for us. He's duplicating Arrakis. I guess this means he doesn't have Neckers, because you would have duplicated Neckers if you'd had them. So this is going to take 1 Frost damage. The thing with the Wild Hunt Hounds is obviously, you know, if they're only taking 1 damage, you're not really getting as much value out of it as you would maybe like. This is going to die, so we're not going to get the Spear Tip transformation. I think what we do is we play the Wild Hunt Rider now, and then on the next turn, we can potentially play Iris in the back row, and then she's more or less guaranteed to die. But that is a low tempo play, so we have to be aware that would require us to take another turn. So ideally, we don't want to play Iris until the Behemoth has died. So we'll kind of wait and see what happens here. We do have, you know, Jotun, which is 15 damage in hand. We have Drowner. We can then move Iris into the weather, for example. We have Spear Tip, which will transform if he stacks another row, which he's likely to do. And we have options for weather in future rounds. The problem here is that we're going to be tied if he doesn't play a card. So the question is, do we think we can win on even cards? Okay, so now's the time to play Spear Tip. So we'll play Spear Tip right in the front row, because this is going to kill these eggs when he transforms. So there he goes. He's boosted these 2 units. And then the weather ticks. And he will transform, so he can't pass here. Because if he passes, we're going to win on even, which he doesn't want. So I guess he's going to go for the egg consume now.
That's Cellmate Tower.
And there's 1 egg. And there's his Arrakises that he duplicated. This is worth 15, like I say. So that's not bad. We can also quite easily win with Iris. That's the other thing to be kind of aware of, is that over 2 rounds we can very easily catch him with this. So that is something that's worth, you know, like I say, worth being aware of. There he transformed, he shot things. We're only 13 points down, plus frost, 4 damage from frost. So he's on 51, we're on 42. We need to make 10 points. If we play this, this is 11 points. I think this is this is an okay play. We'll pull him forward to a middle row, because this is a frost row, so then it takes 4 damage. Then the frost ticks, and there we go, we're ahead. And the fact that he's allowed this like frost round to play for so long, we've gotten huge amounts of value out of this weather. And we can now just play Iris in the back row, and if we play Iris in the back row, she'll die to the weather. So we guarantee her as a play of 25 points, because of the Wild Hunt Rider. So we're in a really nice spot here. So he's got carryover. And there's nothing we can really do about that, unfortunately. Like, we did know that Neckers were coming, but Triss, like I said, was, to me, more of an issue. But what we'll do is we'll pop Iris in the back row.
I am sadness.
The frost will tick. She'll die. Boom. And now if he basically doesn't make a tempo play here, like, it's going to make his life much more difficult. Like, yes, he has 7 points of carryover, but, you know, that's not the best thing. You know, that's like, it's not a huge necker. He hasn't been duplicating them. He hasn't been playing, you know, Death Wishes. Did he just play Adrenaline Rush? So, but this is stupid because we can just dry pass. We can pass here. You know, we are quite a comfortable number of points up. We're about to get 4 more. Plus, if this ticks again, then we get 5. So, you know, he can have his 18-point carryover Unseen Elder because we can just pass. Like, we don't have to necessarily play this round. And if we pass, he does lose this. And then we get a long round in the final round. And actually what we could do here also is we can Mardrome his Necker, which stops him from getting a 3rd Necker. So all in all, I'm actually really happy with this hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Mardrome the Necker. So we play Mardrome. Then we play Spores, which resets a unit and weakens it by 3. The weaken is going to basically banish the Necker, because Neckers only have 3 base strength. So now he no longer has his Necker carryover. And he can no longer duplicate Neckers with Necker Warriors, although that was obviously more of a problem in the first round. And this also forces him into playing a card. So he's played a couple points. You know, he's got 2 points of carryover. But we're a card up going into the final round, which is, you know, really good for us. We have Eredin, we have Wild Hunt Hound, we have Jotun, we have Corinthia. Like, we have a pretty strong hand, I would say, going into this final round. So he's got his 2 Harpies. And he has to play first. White Frost we don't need. We risk mulliganing this into Frost, but we just do not need this much Frost at this stage. First Light's going to give us a Rally. Rally can give us a Drowner. It can give us a Wild Hunt Warrior. So that's what we are likely to see. For now, I'm going to Frost the back row, and then I can always Frost the front row, and I can move these units into that Frost with Jotun. So let's just get this weather, like I said, ticking. Like so. And then we can use Corinthia to move an enemy to a row on its side and apply a Frost Hazard. The question is, do we want to First Light now and try and find a Rider? Alternatively, what we can actually do is Eredin. But if we find a Rider, we can get 2 Eredins. So this is kind of an interesting one. Sorry, if we find a Rider, we can then use Eredin to get a 2nd Rider. Which is, I would say, pretty powerful. So let's, I think, go with Eredin now. We'll take the Wild Hunt Rider, we pop this up in the back row, such that this row is now taking 3 points per turn. And then we'll look to Corinthia at the front row. What is this Rot Fiend? That wasn't really a value play. Not really at all. So Corinthia, and I'm actually going to play Corinthia in the middle row, such that I can move the Vran Warrior into the middle row, because by moving the Vran Warrior onto the middle row, what this does is it means that we maximize the Frost value, because we're not hitting a 1. He is 6 points up. So here we're actually hoping for... So actually we can kill this. We can kill this with the Jotun. Move 3 enemies to this row on their side and damage them by 2. Throws a hazard. Actually, will we kill this? No, yeah, we would, because this would be the lowest unit on the row. So we'll play this here. We move the big crone and these two. Pull them to the middle row. They all get damaged. This one dies. This one is now the smallest unit on the road, so this is going to die as the timer ticks. Although actually it ate before the frost hit, which I didn't realize. I thought it was gonna trigger. As it is, we should still be fine with this rally. A little bit of a misplay by me, but all in all, it's not a problem. And that actually would have been fine to kill the Drowner. The problem is if I went for this play and didn't pull a Drowner, I would have gotten a Wild Hunt Rider, and then, you know, I wouldn't have been able to kill it. But it turns out I wasn't able to kill it anyway, because I forgot that the Grave Hag buffs before the Frost, so my numbers were a little bit off. We can't send a GG because he forfeited. But that is the Frost deck. Like I say, it's good fun. That is kind of an example of Consume, although I feel like his deck was a bit strange. Without further ado, I'll jump into another game, and I'll showcase this deck in action once more for you.
Mead! More mead!
Ested esa crisa.
Okay, so we're up against Bran, which is not so fun. In terms of our mulligan, we get rid of the Frosts. Mardrome is not that great in this matchup. I mean, we can use it to banish maybe a Morkvarg if it gets small enough. But all in all, I think we'll just mulligan the Frost first and see what we get. So we've got 2 Hounds, a Drowner, and a Rider. Am I going to need this? I'm going to mulligan the Mardrome, I think. This matchup it's not as useful in. So we go first. Going first here is a little bit awkward because, you know, what do you play, really? What do you play? They have to play Morkvarg on front row, so we'll just Frost front for now. And that is a play that we can make. Playing King Bran into the Frost. That's an interesting choice. Like, I can't see a reason you would play that into the weather. There's Morkvarg. And like I said, Morkvarg comes out into the Frost. So that gives us that. We'll play Wild Hunt Rider. Wild Hunt Rider isn't going to give us a lot right now. But what it will do is it will give us points in the future. The alternative is you can muzzle the Morkvarg and take that away from them so that they don't get the reses and you do. That's actually a good play as well. The issue then is that we have this Frost and we're maybe not necessarily doing anything with it. He's got Olgierd coming in the future. I think I'm going to muzzle the Morkvarg. So you have 2 options. You can kill the Morkvarg a lot or you can just take it away from him. So we'll do that, and then if he does pull Ceres, we can Morvud lock Ceres, and locking Ceres is a really good play. And then if he plays units here, we can pull them into the weather with the Drowner. So this is nice, or we can just weather a different row with Wild Hunt Hound. Like at this stage, we have the edge on him in terms of tempo and stuff, which is nice. We could actually also Caretaker his Olgierd. That is an option. And then he basically gets no resurrects. Lugos into a discard, and the discard, if it's a unit that reses, it's an Armor Smith. That's awkward because Armor Smiths are really good for him. We could Caretaker the Armor Smith, which stops him from resurrecting it. At the moment, it's not an issue if he resurrects it, though. That's the thing. Like, at the moment, you know, if he reses it, it's fine. Do we want to play more Frost now? This is also thins our deck, and we have Frost in hand anyway. So I think we do play more Frost now. Frost the back row. Like, we could have played a Drowner, and then that would have killed Lugos, but we don't need to. Like, we don't need that damage. We can make a low-tempo play with a Wild Hunt Hound, and that's okay. And this close guys. This is actually what we want to Caretaker. This is the best Caretaker target. So, I think we go for our last Frost here. We have Corinthia for 1 more, and we could always draw White Frost. Ideally, we want to Frost front, though. But I guess we're going to Frost back here. So, Eredin.
Any last words?
Wild Hunt Navigator, which we use to pull a Hound. And play another Frost. And there we go. Do that. And basically what we want to do is we want to Caretaker the Gremist before he can res it. Because he's likely to do that. He just muzzled Morkvarg back. Huh, cute. How many ticks is his Ceres on? 3. I wonder if we're better to kidnap this. Or move it into the weather. We can play this. But I don't think we need that this round. I think we'll just move him into the weather. And then it's a 50-50 really whether this... Actually, no, it'll hit Gremist. Actually, no, it is a 50-50. I was right. It's a 50-50 whether which one dies here. It's not ideal because we've given him a timer there. And we didn't do as much damage as we would have liked. But we're quite comfortably ahead. We've got 14 points on him. But he can catch that in one play, you know. That is definitely something that can happen. So now we pass. He's going to get all of his reses. And he's going to get Ceres out. I think we probably want to play into this round. Because we won, what we can do is we can Caretaker his Gremist. And Caretakering his Gremist stops that whole restore strategy from happening.
I'm ready.
And it doesn't give him first play. Because if he has first play, he can basically protect his graveyard. Which we don't really want to do. And we have a Frightener, so we can regain card advantage anyway. In which case, we mulligan the Mardrome. Nithral's not bad. And then we Caretaker here. Into the Gremist. We could play Fog with Gremist.
That is your brilliant.
Arguably, we're probably better playing Blood Curdling Roar. Right? Because how many turns is this going to go on for? Not that many. Let's play this. And this actually puts us ahead as well in points. And it's just denying him that Resurrect. That's the objective there. It's annoying because he's got the Armor Smith, so I know that he can repair things that we damage with Frost. So it might be worth this round kind of trying to force that out. We definitely want to lock Ceres, so that on future rounds with his Resurrects, he doesn't get that extra, you know, tempo points. He doesn't get those extra 7 points. And then we maybe just look to kill units with things like Morvud and whatnot. So we'll lock Ceres for now, which is good. Puts us ahead again. I mean, being ahead doesn't matter. We won the round, right? So we're literally just trying to bleed him a little bit at this point. And kind of limit his options. He probably still has Coral. His last gold is probably Coral. So we want to expect that. He discarded a Resurrect. So he doesn't have, I guess, units that he wants to res. We'll play the Frightener now. Stack the row. He can't pass because we're ahead. Jotun is great. This is, you know, this is really, really good for us. Iris would be nice. Restore. That is... I guess he's going to hold on to the 8 strength Freya, right? That's his plan. So he discarded the Freya so that he could restore it and have an 8 strength Freya to play in the final round. Which means we probably want to frost the back row.
Modern Freya is patient, but she brooks no insult.
Getting a res off of him now is quite good. I mean, we've seen 4 silvers, so he's got a lot of bronzes, basically. But he does have an 8 strength res, so we know that he has an 8 strength res into like a, you know, a 7, for example. So that is a big play. But we have big plays in our hand too. So all in all, you know, I'm pretty happy. He doesn't have Weather Clear because we took it from him and he can't resurrect it. So we kind of negated his Sigurdriff target and his restore target in some ways. I mean, he did restore, you know, an 8 strength Freya, so it's not terrible, but we're in a pretty happy spot. We can frost all of his rows here. Do I mulligan this? That is the question. Nah, I think we keep it. Like, being able to frost everywhere kind of is great, right? That's going to give us a lot of points per turn. And if he row stacks, we can just break up the row stacks. He's looking at his graveyard. I mean, he can res a Warmonger, and if he reses a Warmonger, he can probably discard a... The dude that reses when you discard it. He could res the Warmonger. Like, that's a really big play. But at this point, he probably doesn't want to be putting a lot of points on the board. Because if he puts a lot of points on the board, you know, I'm going to be sealing value with the White Frost. Although he can repair things, like I said. There it is. So I'm actually going to frost front and middle, because ideally I want to be killing units. I don't want to just be, you know, hitting them a little bit. I want to be killing them. So if we can make it so that we can kill units, that's pretty good. So we've got some frost set up there. And then we can play a rider on the middle row, such that we're ticking 3 instead of 2. And this will hopefully try and negate some of the value he's going to see out of his armor smiths. The other thing we have to be aware of, though, is we want to play Nithral, and we want to play Nithral before we play the Wild Hunt Rider, otherwise we only get 5 damage out of it. But it really depends what he plays here. What we can do, though, is we can play Corinthia. So I think we go Corinthia, Nithril, Rider, right? The problem is if we play Corinthia, we have to move a unit. And apply a hazard. And I don't actually want to move anything off the back row. In which case, we possibly just play a Drowner. And pull this forward. Although, actually, I would have been better killing the Priestess because she's doomed. So then she won't go to the graveyard and give him a good res target. And he's going to resurrect that guy. Yeah.
The sea provides.
Which was to be expected. It was to be expected. Let's go for the Nithril. I don't really want to kill anything here. If I do 7 to this, it can still be repaired. If I do 7 to this, he's got 5 strength. Like, it's a bit awkward if he's got more of these. Because what that means... But if I kill this, it gives him another option to res it. And he should have 1 more res. Or he can have 1 more res. So I don't really want to give him that option. Like, ideally, you want to be killing things.
Greetings.
There it is.
Want to look over our stock?
So now we play... We play Corinthia, I think? And get the Frost out, then we play the Wild Hunt Rider. What do I want to move here? I guess we move this one. It's not ideal because they have armor, so then you're getting, like, fewer value from these weather effects, but I think all in all it's pretty okay. Because we can then play this on the middle row, which means that this will die. I don't think he has any more armor smiths. Typically they don't play more than 2. And we've also got a lot of value in Jotun. So we'll pop this down now. And up the tick that we get. Oh, we're quite far behind though. We are quite far behind. This is 6... I want to put more units on the middle row, really. And we want them to be on 3 health. So ideally, we'd like to hit units with at least... I think I need to let this tick once more. We'll pull this to the front row. This gives us another dead unit. Although, actually, I just realized it's a 4, so I should have hit a bigger unit. 36 to 24. I think we just lose, unfortunately. Like, I think we just don't have enough damage. 19 to 36. Although 2, 4... If I hit this, how much damage am I doing? 3. If I do 3 damage to that... So I play this, I get 1 more tick of weather. It goes to me, I pass. Yeah, so I've got 1 more tick of weather. So I pull this to the front. That's actually not bad. Because, I mean, the armor's going to get knocked off anyway, and I want to maximize as much weather damage as I can. Oh, look at that, you guys! Look at that! Take it. Take it, King Bran. This is one of the strongest decks in the game, just for the record. Admittedly, getting the Lugos away from him early was really good. And being able to get that much frost onto the rows, even with the Armor Smith that we were trying to kind of play around. We managed to get so much attrition from the frost that it was pretty good. I think the Armor Smiths are very frustrating, and you have to kind of be aware of them in the way that you play. And you definitely want to try and kill things rather than just wound them because of how that works. Fortunately, Frost hits the smallest unit, so you're less likely to be hitting big targets and giving him value with the Armor Smiths, so that's pretty nice as well. But that's it. That is the deck. That is Frost Eredin monsters, because you know what's cooler than being cool? Ice cold. Let me know what you guys are playing with monsters. Like, at the moment, I'm kind of all over the shop with monsters. I don't really know what's great, what's not. I've been enjoying playing Eredin Frost, for sure, but I feel like monsters is just in a bit of a weird place. So let me know what you guys are playing in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. You can always subscribe to the channel. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Jaggerous for some more casual gameplay. And on Twitter, @Jaggerous. Have a fantastic day. I hope it is warmer here than it was in, well, wherever you are, than it was in this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!